So I'm on the edge of the Las Vegas Arts District. I wanted to do a design theory class that was a little bit more local, that had references that you guys could go out and look at on site, really get up close and kind of go back to and look at as many times as you wanted to. So I'm going to take you on a bit of a tour of that, and we'll talk about color theory along the way. So sometimes color is the color of the object. When you're looking at a design, for example, if you have something like this, like one of these clocks, that it's brown, the color of wood, then you assume that the object sort of is what it is. It's a clock. But if suddenly that clock was like a brilliant red or a bright orange or a green, it wasn't the natural color. That's a code telling you that there's something beyond what that object means. And so if it's a green clock, then you start looking beyond the fact that it's a clock. Okay, what is the color green suggesting? And then how does it connect to that image of a clock? So how you use color can be arbitrary, or it can be very symbolic, or it can be local, the color of the actual object. Certain colors are connected to brands. If you think about Harley Davidson, you think about the symbols they use, the type of lettering they use is very distinct, but also you think about the color composition. Orange is one of the colors that you find in Harley Davidson. It's kind of an unusual color. It's one of the least popular colors, yet they use it and you recognize a brand based on that. The way they combine it with black and blue makes it a very distinct color combination. So it stands out in its uniqueness. It's different from other color combinations. It's not, when color combinations become really commonplace, they don't have a distinct connection. But when you have something that's unusual and you don't really see it very often, you remember it. And that's where something like the Harley Davidson sort of breaks from the pack and takes less popular colors and kind of makes it their own. Color associations. Those things we associate with particular colors. The color of a sunset. Though this sunset isn't exactly the most friendly. Blue tends to be one of the most liked colors universally worldwide, and it's probably one of the most common colors you're going to see in design. Depending on the shade of blue, whether it's a light blue or a dark blue, it may have associations of sort of happiness, lighthearted freedom. When you think of blue skies and the sky blue light color, the blue colors of the ocean, as blue gets darker, it takes on a more authoritative sort of feel to it. So then you start thinking of police and business suits and those sort of things. So there's a lot of associations that are connected to blue, some of them very, very strong, and other ones that are a little bit more sort of tenuous in their connection. But blue is a comforting color. Most people do feel it to be comforting. You combine blue with something like a cow, because cows are so happy and comforting that it kind of makes everything good. But when you start getting into colors like the reds, then you start getting into colors that have sort of destructive associations and negative connotations. So red is a pretty intense color to use and is often used to excite the viewer, either with a sense of danger or a sense of sensuality or some type of passion. So red's a very, very powerful color. So it's offset by the blue and balanced in this particular piece. Black and gold are considered classics, real classy colors. So you want to classy up a design, use black, silver, gold, grays, neutral colors, and your design will be real classy. Classy stuff. Bright colors or simplistic palettes are often a sign of an outsider artist of some sort, someone who lacks formal training. With contemporary artists and modern artists, this is often intentional, to heighten the colors, to sort of take it away from the established institutional sort of mindset of sophistication. Over here, we have psychedelia. Things start moving into the 60s and early 70s. We start getting these intense bursts of colors, these swirls. If we look at the vintage Vegas sign, you can see that the color, the text, and the symbols are all current to the era, so they all work together harmoniously. Some colors are associated with the classics, even classical colors. And you can see how in this situation they put in sort of a classical color grouping together with a more modern type of color grouping. And it's a juxtaposition of sort of the classical and the pop colors of the contemporary world. Always worth a walk around in the Arts District. Always something new to discover. Always something very creative to look at. Things that we're extremely familiar with, we don't have to work very hard to see. Something like the human eye, human face, we see that in a lot of shapes. That's why we can look at the clouds and we kind of put those forms together. It's something that our brain wants to do, take abstract forms, put them together into something recognizable. So some things are easy to interpret and understand. You don't need much visual information. Other things that are less familiar are going to require more for the viewer to understand what it is you're actually showing them. Art has direction. Creating pattern and rhythm in design can be as simple as repetition with an even spacing. You can speed it up or slow it down by playing with that spacing, by playing with the scale, and by playing with the color. So there's a lot that can be done just within the idea of repetition in a design. It's not always to have something more complex. Sometimes simplicity is also can be the best way to present things. At the end of all that, the kitties. You guys have seen patterns in some of your just color pattern abstract pieces. So what you see is a series of colors creating a row or a pattern that creates a direction in a piece. When you get into actual recognizable images, you can do the same thing with that. Here the human figures are used to create a flow and a rhythm and a pattern throughout this particular wall mural. If you look at the color groupings, you see that blue is a dominant color that ties things together. The blue dress at the end here, connected by the blue here and here and here and here and up, all the way up, exiting through the design. So blue is kind of the visual glue that holds all these other colors together. Blue and red would probably be the two dominant colors, with a lot of other sort of secondary and tertiary colors and mixed colors in between. Nice sense of line, a lot of energy to the line. You can see it's almost explosive. And even though the color here is just monochromatic, it seems quite vivid. And again, that's that color relationship between your darks and your lights. And then in the end, it dissipates. For a lot of people, that would be enough for a beautiful design. This artist has taken it to the next level, using that head to lead you into this rose shape. And again, this is sort of the symbol of the rose next to the face, the comparison, the compare and contrast. Look at how the roses are laid out to lead the eye across the design, how they create the rhythm. They create a direction to the design, and they take you from one end of the design all the way to the other. And they give you a space, a little breathing space, and then they just finish it off with one last rose that pulls the eye right to that edge. Psychedelic, dreamlike, hallucination. So that's one of the great things about living here. We can go on the internet, we can go to the library, we can look at a lot of different designs in a lot of different ways. But in Las Vegas, we are surrounded by amazing design, a variety of strange and bizarre designs, right down to classic and traditional designs. So we can really go into our local environment, and we can just, with a mindful observation, learn an awful lot about design and art.